Welcome to Short Stories. I'm Martin, the host and author of this series, which is produced by the Language Center at the National Taichung University of Science and Technology. Today we will hear another of Aesop's fables, The Old Woman and the Doctor. It's about a dishonest healthcare provider who robs a poor old woman blind and then sues her. So, I guess you could say it's a metaphor for the American healthcare system. Now the vocabulary. Bandage. Bandage. The doctor put a bandage on my wound. Blind. Blind. The blind woman asked me to help her cross the street. Blurry. Blurry. Can you fix the TV? The image is blurry. Claimant. Claimant. The claimant in this case is seeking $1 million in damages. Cure. Cure. The doctor cured the woman's blindness. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Holy smokes, this taco is amazing. Respondent. Respondent. Will the respondent please rise and make her rebuttal? Rob someone blind. Rob someone blind. The burglars robbed Susan blind. That concludes the vocabulary. Now I will turn it over to Derek to read the story.
There once was an old woman who lived alone in a cottage. As she got older, she began developing cataracts, which made it difficult for her to manage her daily life. She could see well enough to navigate her house, but cooking was too risky a job for someone who was partially blind. She relied on her kind neighbor to help her in the kitchen. One day, the neighbor suggested sending for a doctor to treat her blindness. The old woman, who was a bit stubborn, refused at first. But after she spilled the cooking oil and started a fire, she changed her mind. The neighbor returned with the doctor, who introduced himself as Dr. Cleft. "What seems to be the problem?" he inquired. "It's my eyes, Doc," replied the old woman. "Everything is blurry." The doctor opened his bag and took out some tools. "Let me perform an examination, please," he said gently. "Is she going to be all right, doctor?" asked the neighbor. The doctor smiled and said, "Oh, I think I can cure her. It will take about 3 days for the treatment to work. During that time, she'll need to stay in bed. I'll stay with her the whole time to make sure she is taken care of." The neighbor smiled in relief and thanked the doctor profusely. But the old woman remained stoic. "Did you hear that?" the neighbor asked the old woman. "He said he can cure you." The old woman replied, "I'm blind, not deaf." "I heard him. But this sounds like an expensive service. How much will it cost, Doc?" The doctor answered, "My usual fee is 8 drachmas, but if my treatment fails, you won't have to pay me anything." The old woman considered this offer for a minute before asking her neighbor, "Did you hear that? He said it's free if it fails. What do you think I should do?" The neighbor shrugged and said it was up to her. The old woman furrowed her brow before accepting the offer. "I'll begin the treatment immediately," said the smiling doctor. He then ordered the neighbor out, reminding him not to return for 3 days. The doctor laid the old woman down in her bed and began the procedure to remove her cataracts. Afterwards, he put a few drops of liquid medicine on her eyes and bandaged them up. "It's very important," said the doctor, "that you stay still. You'll need at least 3 days to heal. During that time, you must remain in bed. I'll be here to change your bandages once a day and feed you a healthy meal." The old woman grumbled, but obeyed the doctor's orders. The doctor did as he said. He stayed in the old woman's house, fed her, and changed her bandages once a day. The special food he gave her made her feel very sleepy, so she slept quite heavily most of the time. In the evening of the last day, the doctor said, "Tomorrow I will remove your bandages, and you'll be as good as new." When the old woman awoke the next day, she was eager to be done with her treatment. "Get these blasted bandages off me, Doc," she cried. The doctor was more than happy to comply. At first, all the woman could see was a bright blur, but as her eyes slowly began to focus, she began to see more and more. "Holy smokes," she cried, "you did it, Doc." The doctor smiled and said, "I told you so." Now about that payment, the old woman's smile turned into a frown. Part of her was hoping that he would fail, so she wouldn't have to pay him. She went to her lock box, which was hidden in her living room. "Wait a minute," muttered the old woman as she entered the room. "Where's my sofa? And my table? And my chair?" The old woman went to each room of her house, cataloging the missing furniture. "You thief!" yelled the old woman as she wagged an accusing finger at the doctor. "Where's my furniture?" The doctor laughed and pretended not to know what she was talking about. "Your house was like this when I arrived 3 days ago," he said. He then reminded her of their agreement. "I believe you owe me 8 drachmas." The old woman was furious. "I'm not paying you a single obol," she bellowed. The doctor frowned and replied, "Then I'll see you in court." A week later, the old woman was summoned to court. She arrived with her neighbor, who was a witness to the agreement. "Will the claimant please rise and make a statement?" said the Dar judge. The doctor stood up and made his case. "This woman made an agreement with me on the 1st of this month, which was witnessed by her neighbor," the doctor explained. "The neighbor was forced to admit that this was true. And now this woman has refused to pay the agreed-upon price. I request that the court rule in my favor and impose punitive damages on her for slandering my good name." The judge sat stoically as he listened to these statements. "Will the respondent please rise and make her rebuttal?" said the taciturn judge. The old woman stood up and said, "The claimant has stated the facts of our agreement correctly. I agreed to pay him 8 drachmas if he cured me, and he agreed to charge me nothing if he failed. Now he says I am cured. But I say I am more blind than ever, because when I had my cataracts, I could at least see my own furniture. But now I can't see them at all." The judge's stern expression cracked, revealing a smile. He then asked the neighbor if this was true. "It is, Your Honor," replied the neighbor. Before the doctor arrived, she could see her sofa, table, and other furnishings. But now she can't. The judge then announced his verdict. "I rule in favor of the respondent. The claimant shall receive no compensation, according to the terms of the original agreement." The doctor threw his hat on the floor in frustration. "And furthermore," continued the judge, "I will open an investigation into the behavior of Dr. Cleft. A doctor's first rule is to do no harm. Isn't that right, doctor?" The doctor quickly picked up his hat and covered his head. Before she left the courthouse, the old woman approached the doctor and said, "That's what you get for trying to rob someone blind."
And now the questions. Number 1. Why couldn't the old woman cook for herself? A. She didn't know how to cook. B. She didn't have a wok. C. She didn't have any cooking oil. D. She couldn't see very well. The answer is D. She couldn't see very well. Question 2. Why was the old woman angry with the doctor? A. He owed her 8 drachmas. B. He stole her furniture. C. He couldn't cure her. D. She didn't like the look of his face. The answer is B. He stole her furniture. Question 3. Why did the doctor sue the old woman? A. She owed him 8 drachmas. B. She stole his furniture. C. She refused to be treated. D. He didn't like the look of her face. The answer is A. She owed him 8 drachmas. Question 4. What is probably the moral of the story? A. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. B. Crime doesn't pay. C. There's no place like home. D. Nobody puts baby in a corner. The answer is, of course, B. Crime doesn't pay.